Everybody, let me make sure. I think everything's rolling. It seems like things are moving a little bit slow on Facebook this morning, but I will give it just a second. Good morning, Kiera. Okay, we are rolling on Instagram now. Good morning, everybody, and good morning on YouTube. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're rolling. It looks like our notifications are going out kind of slow today. But good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Make sure you guys are sharing. Make sure you are, okay, first of all, be mindful where you share. We don't mind like sharing in your groups, sharing on your personal pages that you host, sharing on your actual, like your personal Facebook page, all that good stuff. Let's try to avoid like buy, sell, trade groups. Those usually bring a lot of trolls, and we do want to avoid that. Okay. We also want to encourage you guys to tag a friend. Maybe try to tag someone new this morning, someone that you've never tagged before. Give them a little bit of a comment and say, hey, whatever the case may be, whatever you're tagging them for. Maybe we were just talking about this the other day, or this made me think of you. I feel like you could really benefit from this, whatever that is. Sometimes when you just tag someone's name, it can be a little confusing, especially if Facebook's kind of being tricky and doesn't show them the full thing or like the exact spot. So make sure you kind of give them a brief description when you're tagging their name, and just make sure you're only tagging one name at the time. Doesn't really do anything for us, but for you, if you're tagging 3, 5, 6 people all in one comment, sometimes Facebook will flag you as spam. So just make sure you're taking your time. Yeah, I noticed even for mine, I just got my notification like 2 minutes ago. So I know it's moving a little bit slow, but it's okay. It will get caught up and everyone will be able to get on. I was trying my best to get in here on time because I dropped Zariah off at school, and we've got some construction or like road work going on down here at the end of our road, and it was very much backed up, and there was school buses doing pickups. So I was like, okay, running out of time. Got to get in the house and get upstairs. So I was glad I was able, like by the skin of my teeth, hit it at like 8 o'clock and a few seconds in, but it's okay. So I hope you guys are doing good this morning. It looks like everyone is starting to come on in. Maybe even say good morning to some people that you may recognize on here, and we will get rolling. So, couple things. First of all, thank you guys who have been in prayer for Miss Laura, I made it. So thank you guys who have been in prayer for Mom, I know she did her live yesterday, and she told you guys that she was supposed to have a televisit, and she did get on, and they have sent her some stuff, some meds to get her rolling. So she started on that yesterday, and she just really needs to take the time to rest and allow her voice and her body overall to recover. We don't want to push that. I don't think that's wisdom, and neither does she. So we are giving her time to just rest and recover and get herself where she needs to be. Second of all, I want to also make the announcement, which is another reason why she needs to be resting up, is this weekend she will be in West Palm Beach. And I wanted to pull up that flyer because I want to give you guys the details on it. So she will be in West Palm Beach, and they are calling it Prophetic Renewal. This is Oasis Church International, hosted by Pastor Cassandra Fullwood. And that's this Sunday at December the 4th at noon Eastern Standard Time, okay? And I do have the address. It is 571 Safe Haven Drive, Building 432 in West Palm Beach. So if you guys are anywhere in the area, or maybe you want to take a road trip, we do encourage you to come on and join us and, show your support. We understand not everyone can do that. I don't know if they live stream, but I do intend on taking our stuff so we can live stream. I don't know how much I'll be able to do, or if I'll just be able to do like Facebook or maybe Facebook and YouTube. I will let you guys know once I get there, because the setup of every building is different, and sometimes our internet connection is different everywhere that we go. So please keep that in mind. We'll do the best that we can to get it up there for you so you can see what's going on, okay? Like I said, sometimes we have absolutely no control over it, but we're going to do our best to get that streamed for you guys. So for those of you who aren't close by, you can still participate. And we will still have our regular Sunday morning live that morning as well. We will be heading down there on Saturday, so we'll be in a room and be all situated, and we will not have to cancel the live for Sunday morning, which I think is awesome, because there's so many of you that only get to come on certain days. And for some of you, like, your main day is Sunday, or, you guys consider us your church, and we really hate when we have to cancel those. So we were very happy that we had a way around that, and we'll be able to be on with you guys for that. So you may get a doubleheader on Sunday. Okay. So with that being said, and we'll keep sharing it so you guys can see it for those of you who especially are close by and will be able to be a part of it. We will continue to share that in the stories and on the pages so you can get all of the details whenever you need them. So y'all know it's Wednesday. It's Wealth Release Wednesday. And I don't know. It's one thing that God basically spoke it to her about with this and keep it going until he says so. And I think it's necessary for us with anything, but especially with this, because it's something that is so needed for each of us as individuals, but overall in the body of Christ, it is something that is so, so, so needed. So many don't have it, don't understand it, fight against it. And we really want to give you proper teaching. Good morning, everybody. Proper teaching and proper revelation on it, proper understanding of it. So not only will you stop resisting something that God has set in place for you, but also you can tap into it and be able to own it and be able to operate in it and be able to flow not only in it, but flow through it, let it flow through you. So that you can begin to start touching those that are around you and extending beyond you. But also, I don't know, it's something that has really been really a chain and a setback for the body of Christ, because it's like you put up this wall and this guard because we have so wrongly set up this mindset of money is the root of all evil, and the love of money. And we don't love this. This is a tool. This is a resource. This is something that God has set in place for us. Even though it's an earthly system, he can use those earthly systems as tools and as resources to really allow us to not only further ourselves in the earth, but to begin to further others in the earth. It is something that causes really breakthrough. It's something that causes manifestations. And I don't know. It's just one of those things like it's like you can't even put it into words because there's so much encompassed in it. There's so much packed into what we call the God kind of wealth. So getting this wealth released to the body of Christ, I think it's going to be a never ending thing of just continuing to sow, continuing to gather, continuing to learn and expand on it. And y'all know this one. This is so familiar to everybody. But it's one of those, it doesn't sound like wealth, but it has wealth all over it. And y'all have heard Mama minister with this one a multitude of times. Okay. But Micah 2, and which one do I want to start with? I guess I'll just read 13. Sometimes I like to go up a little further, but I'll just read 13. But it says, the breaker or the Messiah will go up before them. They will break through, pass in through the gate, and go out through it. And their king will pass on before them, the Lord at their head. And really, that is what wealth release does for you. It's not just a gather and a stack up and a hoard. It is a release. It opens up doorways. It opens up pathways for you so you can walk through. And it says with your king, and it says right here, and their king will pass on before them, the Lord at their head. So he's not just opening it up and then stepping to the side and say, okay, go ahead. No, he's opening it up for us and leading us through it. Okay. He's leading us through it. And then we in turn are able to not look back for the sake of looking back on what's behind us, but looking back on those, maybe they didn't see the gates open. Maybe they didn't hear. Okay. A lot of times we hear about like the trumpet sounding or we talk about the still small voice of God. So there's so many that, maybe trumpets are pretty loud, but sometimes if you're distracted, you don't even know it's happening. You don't hear it. You don't know what's going on. Or, well, I heard it, but what does that mean? What's that supposed to mean? Especially because biblically trumpets are connected to so much that we hear a trumpet, but we don't know, well, what was that one for? What was it? Where was I supposed to be again? What was I supposed to be doing? So sometimes you have people that have like a mild knowledge of it, but they don't quite have the understanding where they can apply it and turn it into wisdom, godly wisdom and supernatural wisdom into their lives. So we have to not only just run through the gate, but kind of look around and see those around us and say, hey, let's go. Hey, let's go. Hey, you missed this. Hey, this is what this means. It's more than just quoting scriptures. It's more than just confessing with our mouths, but it's also opening up, or really it's not even opening up the way. We don't have to open up the way because the breaker did it for us, but it is helping others to turn their face towards the way that has been opened. Sorry, y'all. I have like so many thoughts at the same time. I have to kind of like categorize them. Oh, yeah. So Mama's on. Y'all can say hey in the comments. I know she's not physically on, but for those of you who are on Facebook, you can say hello. Okay. I don't know. I've been thinking about so many different things concerning this, and I just don't even know. It's one of those, I don't even know which direction I want to take it, because there was just like so many different avenues, which is just the way that God works with this. It's more than just, I think we look at it as there's only one way. And while there's only one way to go to the Father, there's multiple ways to conduct his kingdom business once we are in the kingdom itself. Okay, so in the same way with God is there's multiple resources. While he's our source, there's multiple resources, and there's multiple ways that we can really tap into this thing, whether it be an assignment through ministry or an assignment through our place of businesses or the places that we work or the families that we have either been born into or married into, and various earthly relationships that we may have. And Mom, you have everybody saying hello on Instagram and on YouTube as well. So like I said, I know she can't be on all of them at the same time, but she is here and she is listening. Okay. Good morning in Pakistan as well. So, and good morning to everyone else. I know I'm kind of like back and forth, but I don't know. I don't know. There's so many different avenues where you can tap into this wealth of God. And we have to be careful not to get so trapped in our mind of only seeing it one way of, well, the only way for me to prosper in the kingdom of God is for me to be a full-time minister. No. If that's your calling, absolutely. But everyone in the kingdom of God is not called to full-time ministry. That's not called, you're not always called to that being your avenue of your wealth or that avenue of your increase. And knowing and understanding that there's different places that God will send you and that God will use you really to get us outside of the four walls. The four walls are a place of refreshing and renewal and like-mindedness where we can absolutely, Miss Laurel said we are in full-time ministry no matter our vocations. And that is the truth. And it's like we say all the time, it's a mindset shift of changing from thinking it has to be done this way or it has to go this way or this is the only way. First of all, we're talking about God. We're not talking about a man-made ladder that you have to climb. Well, you have to start off as the janitor, and then you can work in concessions, and then you can move up and you can work the cash wrap and be able to interact with people, and then you can move up and be a manager until you're the CEO, and then finally you've reached your place and you're exhausted and you're depleted and you've accumulated all this stuff, all these titles, but you've never actually gone anywhere. The kingdom of God works very different. Like I said the other day, it's in a lot of ways there's parallels, but it's almost reverse parallels of God can throw you into this situation, no knowledge of it, and say, but because I've called you for this and because I've anointed you for this, you really don't need the knowledge. I'll give you what you need. I'll give you the way to carry it out. I'll give you the way to do it better than they were doing it, and they didn't even know they weren't doing it good to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much that we have to break off of our minds of trying to just be in this like one vein of I can only do it this way. No, that's not the case at all. So when it comes to supernatural wealth, we even have to break our mindset limitations off of our wealth. We can't just look at it as my wealth is going to come through my paycheck. It's nice. It's great. You may even make 8 figures a month. That is awesome. But there is so much more that God has for you that really is going to move you beyond that. Okay. Exactly. We do not fit in a mold. God has given us all different gifts and talents. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. So, and this is, I don't know, this is going to sound so backwards and again, it's that reverse parallel, because it's so backwards to the world system of doing things. Because with the world, um, they expect you to work, they expect you to grind, they expect you to hustle, they expect you to, if you don't just push, you don't deserve it, you haven't earned it, you need to go to school for 8 years, and then you need to come back and you need to renew, and you need to do this, and it all just falls into a bunch of works. But even when I was getting ready this morning, just kind of thinking on things and preparing and stuff, one of the things that I heard was God hands out participation trophies. So God hands out participation trophies. In the world, we look at participation trophies of, oh, that's cute. You're on the team. You really didn't do much, and even some people look down on it like, well, what a waste. Usually participation trophies in the natural are the smallest. It was, we didn't do nothing but showed up. No, it's the opposite with God. He smiles on your participation. He thrives off your participation, because it's God that sets everything in place. It's God that really allows you to walk through the gate. He's the one that allows you to be a part of it. When he hands out his participation trophies, it's not just this little thank you for coming. No, it is the giant ones. Y'all ever seen the big ones? Especially, we have one of my cousins, my mom's nephews. He does dirt bike, and this boy like wins first place back to back to back. He's in the point. He's winning funds, all this good stuff, right? And some of those trophies are almost as tall as him, and he's nearly 6 feet tall. So you got to understand, God doesn't work the way that we work. He doesn't see things the way that we see things. So he's not doing this little thank you for coming. He's giving you this big one, that you can't even lift it up by yourself. You can't just throw that in the back of your car. You don't throw that in a cardboard box and you dig it out of the attic and say, oh, I remember when you played in Little League and that was so cute that year that we did that. No, this is with God. When you participate, he said, that's all I need. That's all I need to bless you. That because when you sign up for participation with God, it opens up your mind. It opens up your ideas. It opens up the dream realm for you. It opens up your spirit man, because all that he asks is for participation. I think we have really bogged people down with, you've got to do this and you've got to do that and you've got to show up all these times. And yes, these things are great and wonderful, and God will begin to require things of you. It's a way of building relationship. It's a way of building trust between you and God. Once he starts to understand of what you can be accountable to and accountable for. But every single thing that you walk into, at first, all you're doing is saying yes, because God doesn't say, okay, well, here's the blueprint and here's what we're going to do. It's going to take you X amount of years. This person's going to come to you and it's going to provide you with this. No, he says, I want you to go over here. And you're like, okay. For example, you're sitting in the house. It's, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And God says, get up, go to Walmart. And you're like, I just had my Walmart delivery show up this morning. I have no intentions in going in that store. I don't even like going in there. Why do I need to go to Walmart? I got everything I needed. I double checked the pantry. I made sure we got toilet paper. I got all my cleaning products. There ain't no reason for me to go to Walmart. And he's like, well, okay. But if you will really stop all the resistance and all the why and all the, well, what for, and just say, okay, let's go. Just Put on your shoes. Make sure you got on something size pajamas. Put on your shoes. Grab your keys. Let's go to Walmart. What for? I don't know. What department are you going to? I don't know. I'm just going to walk the store until I find out. And you don't know what is linked to that. You could walk in that store and somebody hand you a $10,000 check. I was just looking for you the other day. I don't have your number. We're not friends on Facebook, so I knew you wouldn't get the message. It would just go to that other folder for people that you're not friends with. I just trust in God to put you in my path, and there you are. Or you walk in there and come into contact with somebody, and God says, you need to do this. You need to pay for their stuff. Why? Because it opens up a wealth flow. You really have to break off that, well, which way do I need to go? And what about this? And what about that? No, participate. That's it. That's all you need is participation. He will open up the way for everything else. He will put everything else into place. And there's so much that sometimes when he sends you into these places, sometimes it's for harvest and sometimes it's to sow a seed. Either way, it's connected to your wealth. Either way, it's the breaker going before you, opening up the gate and leading you through it to either your harvest or your place to sow for your next harvest. So when I say God hands out participation trophies, that's it. Your harvest is a trophy. You're being led into good soil to put your seed into is a trophy. These are not just small, minuscule things that it's like, thank you for coming. No, we have walked through, we said yes. We don't know what we're saying yes to other than God. And he says, okay, now come over here because I have this in place. Now come over here because I have you in place for them. Oh, absolutely. There's times I don't know why in the world I need to go to this store. I just feel like I just need to go over here today. That's good, Kira. If y'all want to type that in like she did, she said, my harvest is a trophy. I'm not caught as up with it with mom about, y'all type this in the comments. I guess you can say I'm not used to it, not quite in the loop to do that. But that would be a really good one to say, my harvest is a trophy. It is. It's because, see, it's not only something because, okay, again, back to the natural, back to the sports, the team side of it. That trophy is not just for that person. That trophy doesn't just represent, even with him, he is the only one on that dirt bike. So you could say that trophy is his, it's all about him, and it's all about what he did. No, that trophy, it represents him. It represents his family who funds him. It represents his family who takes him back and forth. It represents his friends who supports him. And it represents those coaches of those classes that he goes to the other days of the week. That trophy that is on display, whether it's in his bedroom or in a museum, that trophy is a display of his yes of participation, his yes of once he got the instruction of following through, of those who supported his yes, and the coach, okay, in our case would be God. That trophy is a display of what God is doing through them, of what your coach is training you to do. A football team, those rings, okay, whether it be on the state level, the national level, the international level, those rings are a representation of their yes, of their sweat and their actions on the field, but also it's a representation of those coaches that are over them and said, hey, this is what you need to do. Hey, this is the direction you need to take. This is the play you need to make. So when these harvests start coming in, you cannot be shy about it. You cannot just put your little trophy case in the den or in the basement of, well, this was all my accomplishments over the years, or this is how it was back in the day. No, this is something that you put on the forefront. And every time somebody says, congratulations, you say, thank you. This was God. Thank you. This is a display of my harvest. My harvest is a display of my seed. My seed came from my God. This is how we allow our wealth to not speak for us, but speak for the things that God does for his people, for the just, because it is a sign and a wonder and a testimony to the unjust. Not only will he cause those people to really honor and favor us, but it causes a draw. It's a point of intrigue. So these trophies that we get, they're not just collections that we and again, for those of you who are just now joining, we're talking about these trophies are a representation of our harvest. Our harvest is a trophy, and the good soil that God leads us to is a trophy. That's a treasure. That's something that you honor, you treasure, you cultivate, that this is not just something I stumbled upon. Now, it may seem like to you in your natural mind, I just happened upon this, but there's so many things that God will use that you happen up on, or things that Mom has been talking about in recent days of hidden in plain sight. Yeah, it was put there intentionally for you. It was set in place intentionally for you. But in the natural, you happened up on it. God broke that thing through. You walked through the gate and you said, oh, well, all we had to do is get through the gate, and this was sitting over here. All we had to do was open up the door. All we had to do was open up the window, and that breeze came on through, and it brought a refreshing to us. All we had to do was, go out this exit. I've only ever walked through that door. I didn't realize that when you came out this door, that this was sitting over here. This is okay. Let me pull this up because I don't want to misquote it. Y'all give me just a second. I'm going to pull this up because, like I said, I do not want to misquote it. Because there's some of the wording on it that I want you to get the fullness of it. Okay, Deuteronomy 8:7. I'm going to at least start at 7. I'll figure out where I'm going to stop. So this is the Amplified Classic. Y'all know I like to kind of go back to the Amplified Classic. It's a good one. I like the way it breaks things down. So Deuteronomy 8, and I'm going to start in verse 7. It says, for the Lord your God is bringing you. Okay, we just saw in Micah, not only is he breaking open the gates, but it said that your king is leading you through with the Lord at his head. So the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs, flowing forth in valleys and hills. So it's not locked up in the low place, and it's not locked up in the high place. It says it's flowing forth in valleys and hills. A land of wheat and barley. That means that there is harvest, okay? And vines and fig trees and pomegranates. So there's fruit. There's fruit on the vine, and there's fruit on the trees. Really, and the bushes, because pomegranates, they're more so a bush. So this kind of covers it all. You got the vines, you got the trees, and you got the bushes, all full with harvest. A land of olive trees and honey. Honey, if there's honey in place, that means you have what we call pollinators, okay? Whether it be through bees, I believe also like wasps can pollinate as well. But that means that you have creatures set in place that not only is this land full now, but because there's honey, they're producing. That means it can continue to produce. Honey is like an in-between stage. They've pollinated, they've brought things back. There's things moving, there's motion going on, okay, inside of their really what would be their ecosystem. So this tells you that not only is he bringing you into a land that is well established, but he's bringing you into a land that will continue to be fruitful and multiplying. As long as you have those things, as long as you have your pollinators, you can continue to have growth. You can continue to have fruit. Okay. A land in which, and this is verse 9, a land in which you shall eat food without shortage and lack nothing in it. A land whose stones are iron, and out of those hills you can dig copper. So you have what you need to, with iron and copper, you have what you need to produce fire. You have what you need to produce tools. You have what you need to produce shelter. Out of these tools, there's trees. You have all that you need in the good land. You also have what you need for trade. Okay. And it says, when you have eaten and are full, then you shall bless the Lord your God for all the good land which he has given you. Beware, and this is the key to the continual wealth. First of all, it'll unlock your wealth to begin with. If it's not flowing, it's one of those things. It's the opener and the closer, and the in between, really. But I'm just saying, this is the thing that will unlock and continue on. So it says in verse 11, beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by keeping his commandments, his precepts, and his statutes, which I command you today. And again, all of these things can be carried out through your yes. It's not a hard thing. It's not a complicated thing. He's not going to bring you into a good land and then say, okay, now you got to work for it. Yeah, we do work. Our work is whatever it is that he asks of us, but it's not something that you got to push and you got to hustle and you got to grind and you got to force to happen. Lest when you have eaten and are full and have built goodly houses and live in them, like I said, you have all that you need to build in that land. And when your herds and flock multiply and your silver and gold is multiplied and all that you have is multiplied, then your minds and hearts be lifted up and you forget the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage. He brought you out of your slavery, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness. So this is, and I'm not going to read all of this because it can take a while. But basically it's saying, should you come through out of this, I do want to read part of it, but overall it's saying, should you come through out of this and forget the Lord your God? No, you enter into his gates with thanksgiving, into his doors with praise. This is the same thing. You open up, the breaker thrives off of, he lives off of your praises. He lives off of your thankfulness. He lives off of you saying, God, I just thank you. God, I'm so appreciative of you. I'm thankful for the things that you're doing. I'm thankful for the way that you've made. I'm thankful for the doors and the gates that you have opened. So I know you're going to open this one. And when you open that up, that's when he says, okay, you're ready. He breaks that open. You walk into the good land. And then right here in verse 10, it says, when you have eaten and are full meaning satisfied, then you shall bless the Lord your God. So after he's brought you into all of this, he don't even make you stop and say, thank you, God, as soon as you get in the door. No, he says, go ahead, go on, eat, enjoy, get satisfied, and then sit down and rest and take your time to praise him. I like this. This is verse 18. Like I said, I don't want to read all of it because I know it can be kind of time consuming, but it's Deuteronomy 8:18, which y'all know. But you need to see how all this ties together, because sometimes we just go, okay, Deuteronomy 8:18 or Deuteronomy 7 through 10. and we aren't connecting them. Okay. But in Deuteronomy 8:18, it says, "But you shall earnestly remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day." But you shall, meaning you don't have to force your spirit man to indulge in it. Your spirit man naturally wants to participate with God. It naturally wants to have conversation with God. It naturally wants to be a part of this. Okay? It's the forcefulness that we have to have is submitting the flesh. But when you've been brought into the good land, God doesn't bring you into the good land in the heat of a battle. If you're battling with this, he's going to help you through that and then say, the breaker has come through. He's broken you through the battle here, the battle of your flesh, and brought you into that good land. Why? Because your mind, your humanity is not fighting with your supernatural side. It's not fighting with your spirituality. You can't enjoy the good land if you've got all this turmoil. That's why he had to come through as the breaker first, open up the way, and then because there's peace, there's inner rest, then you can walk into that. A lot of you guys aren't entering into your place of wealth because you're still at turmoil here. Yeah, right here, right in between. You can't your mind won't digest and allow it to get into your spirit man, allow it to connect with your spirit man. So you're just fighting back and forth, back and forth. 1 minute I'm in faith, I'm believing, God's bringing it. It's oh no, you're fine, thank you though. I didn't notice your comment at first. Actually Mom gave that one to me. But you can't. 1 minute you're believing, you're down here, you're in your spirit, you're believing it's going to happen, God's going to bring it, God's sending supernatural provision, God's sending supernatural finances. And then the next minute you're like, but this bill is due in like 10 minutes and I don't have it in my bank account. So when you're in that place of inner turmoil, where you're just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, he can't break you through. You're distracted. You can't even see you're standing in front of the gate. You're at the gate of the good land. You can see, okay, you're like them. We can see there's milk and honey over there. We can see them grapes, clusters of grapes take grown men to carry. We can see it over there, but those giants are right there. And that's how you guys are. We're standing at the gate. We can see the good land. We can see that ground is not hard. That ground is soft. That ground is well nourished. That's why it had water flowing through the hills and valleys. You didn't have to go in and set up systems to have drainage where the rains would puddle on the top of the hills. No, all that's set in place. The land was naturally designed to be self-sustaining, and not just self-sustaining, but really keeping itself in a place of production. But we're so busy going, yeah, I see that over there, but I'm battling this giant right here, instead of stepping back and saying, God, you break through this and we'll enter into that. You break through this right here, break this up where we can have that free flow between the two. It can flow together because you're a triune being, just as God is. So this is all supposed to flow together. And if any of it is out of sync, then it shuts all of it down. If you are so spiritual that you can't get up and go to work, you can't get up and get yourself dressed, you got to learn how to speak in tongues while you put your makeup on and get in the car and go to the store and pay for your stuff and come back home. But on the flip side of things, you can't be so, well, I've got to get dressed and I got to get these kids to school and I need to do this and I need to do that, that you can't shut that off and do the other. You're so frazzled in your emotions that you can't do the. Your wealth flows in all of this. Your wealth is not just tangible funds. Your wealth is your mind being at peace. Your wealth is, I can take care of all of my responsibilities and I can take the time to love on the Lord, whether it means separately or at the same time. Honestly, you benefit more when you do it at the same time. All of this is you walking through that gate into the good land. But you're going to have to allow the breaker to come in and disrupt really these three avenues that you've got going in different directions, and allow it to become a supernatural system that flows together so that you can just walk into this good land. The good land is designed, it already flows together. I told you in Deuteronomy, when you read through this, you can't disconnect the natural from this. It won't make sense. But if you look at this as supernatural on the natural, you will see, okay? You will see. You've got a good land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs. You need these different types of waters. You can't just operate off spring water. You can't just operate off brooks, because a lot of times brooks just trickle through. You can't just operate off of fountains because it's just really regurgitating the same thing. You need that freshness that is flowing, and again, through the valley and the hills. It's not a system it's not a man-made system where you have to go in and you have to make this thing flow in the direction that you want or need it to go in. It's set up to flow into itself. A land of wheat and barley. Your harvest is already there. You didn't have to till the ground. You didn't even have to plant the seed in the good land. It's operating off of the seed that you planted outside of the gate. And vines, fig trees, and pomegranates. Like I said earlier, that takes care of your vines, your trees, and your bushes. It covers it all. A land of olive trees and honey. You have your olives that you need for, my gosh, you can use the trees for building. You can use the trees for tools. You can use the fruit, the olive, off of the trees for eating as is. And these days they would have, pressed out the olives for oil, which you can use for a variety of things. So it's not something that just covers your basic necessities. The wealth of God is not something we're so caught up in, the Lord will, God will supply all your needs. Yes, He will, but that's the basics. The good land is a interworking, self-sustaining system that you just walk into. He comes in Micah, he comes in, he breaks open the gate, and then he leads you into the good land. You walk into it, you eat until you're full, you build not just I created a shack out of these little twigs and leaves that I found, but no, you use those resources that have been established for you before you ever even got there in that land, and you build with God in that land. You allow your family to grow in that land. And in your fullness, you sit there and you enjoy. In your fullness, you bring others into that land. Definitely not any direction I intended on this to go, but Okay, so this is good. And I want to put it on the screen. I know Instagram can't see it, so I'll read it. But for if I can click on it, there we go. For the rest of you guys, I like this. They said, through the valley and the hills, I'm beginning a new business in the West Valley of Arizona, leaving Saturday to drive there from Ohio, which you guys know Ohio's up north. He said, I'm taking the tambourines and going to dance and sing, building a new business with God. And that right there is exactly how it works. That is exactly how it works. So I don't know. I just feel like we need to really look at this as with a new perspective of entering into this. I think a lot of times too, you can't just look at it as a physical gate. Sometimes, your gates can be different things that you are dealing with. Because she said, do I believe spiritually I'm in the land of his goodness when you say enter in his gates? So yeah, you're entering into his gates. It's a supernatural thing. It can be things that you walk through, whether it be entering into a new home, entering into a new relationship, entering into and these are physical things, but entering into, purchasing a new vehicle. It can be on the flip side, it could be entering into a new season of your life, entering into a new space in your mind, entering into a new space in your emotions, and learning how to really live with yourself. Gates are not just it's more than just a gate of community. It's more than just gates around a kingdom and a fairy tale. Gates can be anything that are causing a division or a separation, and it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes you walk through the gate and you close the gate because God has set that as a place to be your domain with him. But you have to really be able, and like mom said, see yourself already inside the gates of the good land. You have to be able to look through those gates. This isn't a solid gate, but think of it as those like with the iron bars. Picture it in your mind like that, of you are holding onto those bars, peeking through, saying, that's the land that I belong in. Of you see, okay, that's the land that God has set in place for me. Whatever it is, that's the job that God has set in place for me. That's the person that God has set in place for me to be my provision. Maybe not full time. We can't get so stuck that we only see it as that way. But really, you have to say, look over, and maybe it's something that you have to say, okay, God, open up my eyes to see what is my good land, who is a part of my good land. And then say, I'm ready for you to open up the gates. I'm ready for you to break me through into this. Just making sure I didn't miss anybody's comments. And good morning to anyone who joined us later on. Felicia said, I have to rewatch this. You do. You have access to what's beyond the gate. And you have to, and again, like mom said, you have to see yourself already on the other side of it. You can't, I'm telling you, you cannot. And I know some of y'all be like, what does this have to do with wealth? Everything. Because your wealth is in that good land. And you can't see yourself outside of your wealth. You can't see yourself outside of your health. You can't see yourself outside of your wholeness and say, eventually I'll be over there. You have to really, in your mind, break those walls down and see yourself in it. Because otherwise, he can open it up and he can be trying to lead you in it, and you're just standing there, and in your mind, the gate never even moved. All right. So I am going to throw these up real quick. So I encourage you guys. I know a lot of times when I fill in for mom, I'll just kind of put these up and go through the motions with the link. But really, honestly, I encourage you guys, if you've got to do you a whatever, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If you want to sow into the good land, or if you want to sow into the breaker, whichever the case may be, because you guys will be in different places with this. Okay. So some of you guys need to sow into the breaker, not just the breakthrough, because you guys are getting breakthroughs and then it's just on to the next project. And it's the same way with your wealth of this paycheck to paycheck. You got to get yourself out of project to project of, well, I got this done, but now I need to get a breakthrough here, and now I need to get a breakthrough here. No, you have to really take hold of it with the breaker, period. Because if you get a hold of it with the breaker and you come into covenant with the breaker, your seeds are a covenant. Your seed that you're putting into the soil, you don't want to be sowing outside of the good land where it's hard and it's harsh and it's malnourished. You want to be, I don't care if you have to throw it across and say, God, send a squirrel to bury it. I don't know. You need to be sowing over into the good land. That's why some of you guys need to be sowing into the breaker to get you over into that land. So wherever the case may be for you, you may even need to pray about it and say, God, which side of the gate am I on? Have I walked through that gate that you broke through for me? Or am I still standing here like I don't have the right to be over there? So I just encourage you guys today, really, honestly, not just like haphazardly, not just, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. No, like, honestly, take the time and say, God, am I sowing into the breaker, or am I sowing into the good land? Find your place in him so that you can move on in. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to produce a harvest. And then you're going to take that harvest and you're going to and I say parade in the nicest way possible, but really you need to parade it around and say, this is what happens. This is my trophy. I participated. This is not just a thank you for coming. No, this is I participated with God. I got this through him on his behalf, and I can take you back to the good land too. We're going to put all our participation trophies in the case. Put them at the gate. That way everybody who comes through sees, because you participated, because you walked through the gate, this is what you can get in on. All right, so you guys can go to janetgermanministries.com. We have a sow a seed page there. And I will say, I know we kind of started saying this a lot lately, but some of you guys get confused. It does say powered by PayPal. That means that it goes through PayPal. That's just the only option. You can use a credit or debit card. You do not have to have an account. Okay. You can go to the direct PayPal link, which will ask you to log in, and it's paypal.me/JGMIN. Okay. PayPal.me/JGMIN. And if you guys want, you can designate your seed there if you want to send it to one of us specifically, or if you're just wanting to name your seed, any of this from today, do so in the note section. There's a note section on the website, and there's a note section on the PayPal. Okay. You can also mail in your seed to P.O. Box 1011, Bartow, Florida 33831. And then for those of you who like to use Cash App, we have $ Janet German MIN, which is the ministry. You have $ Janet German, which is her personal. And then we have $ Katie German, which is my personal. And my name is spelled CATIE. And I know I had someone ask the other day of when they click on that, will it show my full name, which for those of you who don't know is Caitlin. And yes, it will. So it'll have the $ Katie German, but it'll also have Caitlin German on there because you have to put your actual name for business purposes. So let's see. This was good. Tracy was saying there's a front passing through our area. The line in the sky was so pretty and powerful looking. I had to pull over and snap a pic. Sat here for a minute and picture what it looked like on the other side of this front. The rain is coming on my land, rain of abundance. The front is bringing the clouds, the cooler temps for me / everyone to enjoy. The front is breaking through. Absolutely. Absolutely. She had her visual representation right in front of her. All right. So, like I said, we will be in West Palm Beach this weekend. I'll be sharing the flyer again in a couple of hours, and I'll be sure to get out on the stories. So, for those of you who are either local or within a few hours, we encourage you to come and join us. And then for those of you who are not, I'm going to try my best to go live during the meeting. Thank you for those of you who have been in prayer for Mom as she is getting this throat situation healed up. Hopefully she'll be able to be back on in the morning. We'll see. We're going to do more rest, work on the prescriptions, and we're going to go get her some hot tea today. So yeah, try to get her ready for this weekend. So y'all have an awesome Wednesday, Wealth Release Wednesday, and we will see y'all very soon. Bye, y'all.